dangerous, and the way that sort of translates on stage is just, I mean, Gerard, again, it's just, is very magnanimous, just like it just becomes a different person when he goes on stage. Like, he's very soft-spoken in person, but on stage is just this rowling, it's like this lion-like personality trapped in this man in a black suit.
Gerard has always been a ham. Dude's always like just up in your face. First time we saw him play, we're like, this kid is a star. He's just a star. He's always been a showboat, constantly.
He's cursing. He's just like jumping around. He just seems to have this. I mean, it's like the satanic preacher, for lack of a better word. I mean, like every other word was bleep me if you will, fuck, like. I mean, and it was just like, like, it just, I don't know, but it was something that, it wasn't intimidating, it was just like, it was rapturous, and like, you could just feel like every time he spoke between songs, the crowd was just kind of, like, jumping up a little bit, like, like the hair on the back of a cat's neck, just kind of like, it was just really whipping people up into a frenzy.
We used to laugh that Mikey would nail his sneakers to the floor and then put them on because the kid wouldn't move. He would just stand there like this, like all freaked out, because he's just learning how to play the bass. So he'd be like watching his fingers, watching everything he's doing, not moving at all, not looking at the crowd. I mean, the other thing that I really remember from that concert was just like, in between, in breaks in songs, in between, songs, the other guitarist, Ray Toro, would just scream out Jersey, and just, there was just kind of this echo effect across the room. People just started cheering louder, and just like, it was just very exuberant expression, and it just amazed me that one word could just really, send a shockwave through, 1,000 or 3,000 people. Frankie was already used to playing live because of his band before that. Ray wasn't, but Ray was a very confident guitar player. And as soon as, Ray's the kind of guy who would, if he thought he was sounding really awesome that night, he would turn up a little bit, he'd turn his volume up about, you could tell it was getting a little louder and louder as he starts ripping on his guitar a little bit more. That's the kind of guy he is. And that's cool, that's what makes him a great guitarist, and makes him write these great songs.
Now signed to a major label, My Chemical Romance had stepped up a gear. The group, now perpetually on tour, began to feel the strain. In late 2004, the drummer and founding member Matt Palicia was asked to leave the band.
I never understood what the issue was with him, why he was out of the band, or I thought he was a good drummer, played maybe a little too many Machine Gun fills in most of their recordings, and he was just seemed like a good kid that just loved pizza and just wanted to eat pizza all the time.
When I did the interview with them, Matt was still the drummer, so he was up here, and I think maybe like a month after that interview, they split up. It was right towards the beginning of the album coming out, if I'm not mistaken.
At some point, I found that he got kicked out of the band, and I wasn't sure why. He was all about it. He had a tattoo of a bat on his hand. He was into it,
He was the weakest link in the band. He was the one that kept it going with tempos and stuff like that. He couldn't keep the tempo going. The other stuff, I don't know anything about. I don't know if kind of personal problems they had.
They already had a new guy lined up, and he was ready to go for a show like that following week. It was something ridiculously soon. So you could tell that they had been preparing for this for some time, and it was just breaking.
Everybody knew from the start what was happening when he couldn't get these tempos. We tried the click track, couldn't do the click track. We tried just mapping it out where he would just play the song and we'd stop. Okay, slow that next part down. Couldn't do it. Just wasn't happening. Turned into an argument. Screw you guys, I don't care. This is what I do. This is how I play. I don't care. That kind of thing. And we were all just like, just play the drums. Get it over with.
Eventually, Matt went on the internet, and he was saying things like that they wouldn't let him play without a click track. Well, click track is what drummers use to keep time when they're playing live. It's a device. So he didn't like it because he thought the show should be more organic, and if there's a mistake, there's a mistake, and that's what punk rock is. And he had a whole thing about this that he posted somewhere, and that they wanted it to be really professional and tight or whatever. And so when he didn't agree with that, that's what caused the split, is what he said, among other personal things that I'd imagine they didn't go into in the public.
Even if you still listen to the songs, though, you could still notice every song has a tempo change. It all speeds up. If you listen very carefully, it's very obvious to me, obviously, but you can hear it speed up.
And I haven't spoken to Otter since he was doing that. He hasn't checked in with us. I think maybe he's uncomfortable, but we haven't chased him down either, so can't really blame him.
He was immediately replaced by Bob Breyer, a drum technician with the band The Used.
The only thing I remember about Bob was just, after the show, just him walking around with like this towel hanging out of his mouth.